Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Escaping Nightmares. I'm Jess.
I'm Bree.
Today, we're going to be telling stories,
Horrors of the job
everything
market.
in. Because we all know we're all looking.
We are.
The
Both of us
res-
are.
oh yeah, I know. Both of us are looking really
That's why
hardcore,
we're
but
on YouTube. Yeah.
the ridiculous questions they ask.
Oh, should we start with
And
that? The ridiculous questions. And I don't,
yes,
I'm not gonna rant. I'm gonna behave. I'm gonna behave. I'm not gonna go on a rant. Go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say first.
okay. So my jumping right into it. My very first question I ever got asked. This was back in 2020. I was looking for a job. At this point, I was desperate.
Oh, during COVID.
Yeah, during COVID, I was
Oh
like,
God, that was the worst.
yeah, it was, and I was like, I really need a job. Like my gremlins, those are my cats. I just call them gremlins because I swear that's what they are. I was like, I need to get them. I need to start getting food. I need to pay rent. I need to pay my car. Like I can't keep pushing all that stuff back. So I got lucky enough to get a job interview at 7-Eleven. I have never felt so defeated in my life.
Oh,
And I
no.
needed the job. So,
Isn't it the
I
worst? Isn't it the worst when you get rejected from a job where you're like, this is a yeah, like not to be sound,
no.
bad, but like you feel like it's a little beneath you, and you're like, well, I just need a job, it's fine. Get rejected,
No,
you're like, oh shit,
that's,
I
that's,
suck.
that's what happened. So not even that I was like, you know what, I need to do this. I didn't even wear sweet interview clothes. I just wore like an okay t-shirt, and jeans. I went in there,
You
and
were
it was
too
this.
confident. You were too confident.
I was just like, I have to get this. So I went in there, and he started with the job being like, okay, so why do you want to work at 7-Eleven? And right off the bat, since I felt defeated and 7-Eleven was the only one who accepted me, I told them, I don't really want to work at 7-Eleven, but I need a job. So I'm here.
You did not say that.
I did. I should have was like, I didn't really want, but I need a paycheck to pay my stuff. And the look on this guy's face was like, oh, yeah, I can understand that, but you can move up in here. And I'm like,
Move, move up where?
I know that's. I
7-Eleven.
looked at him and I looked at him with the most blankest stare, like,
You're like, oh,
move
okay,
up.
sure.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, he was like, yeah, you can move up. And his definition of moving up is I could become like a supervisor. And then he continued because he was like, okay, I understand. Maybe she really wants this job. He's like, so the hours are, and they were like graveyard hours.
Oh
And,
man.
and he's like, and on top of that, he's like, it's minimum wage. I'm like, okay. And then finally, he just finished it with, okay, so if hired, how long would you want to stay here? And
You're like, until I find another job. You
I
did
think
not
I
say
told him,
that, please. You did
I
not say
think I told him something like that until I find another job.
that. You're too honest. You're just too honest.
I was very honest. This is what happens
Oh
when you've been
my
rejected one
God.
too many times. I was just,
You
I was
just
as
give up.
honest as
You just
I
give
did. I completely given up, and I could tell you guys all out there, I did not get that job.
up.
I was too honest.
You're
Honesty
too
is
honest.
not the way to go.
I know that you were desperate for a job, but I think I remember you being like, "Oh yeah, I have an interview at 7-Eleven." And I remember telling my boyfriend, I was like I feel weird because obviously I want you to be able to find a job so you can make money and support yourself and be happy or whatever, but I'm like I kind of hope she doesn't get that job because that 7-Eleven is dangerous.
Yeah, no, that's exactly another reason, and that's why that's
They
one
they
on.
don't pay those people enough to be in danger constantly.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like on top of me feeling defeated. I thought to myself, I'm like, I don't want to work there at night. Like,
Yeah, by yourself. I had an interview like that way back in the day when I was like working at Home Depot, and that's a whole other fucking thing where I
Mm-hmm.
was like busting my ass at Home Depot. I was picking up everybody's missed shifts. I was doing everything I could to try and get like promoted. And I wanted to go into paint, but I couldn't. They never promoted me because they said I was just too good at being a cashier, so they couldn't promote me. And I was just too good at my job. And I would win all these awards and be like, oh, we so appreciate you, but I would never get promoted. I'd never get a raise. They promote everybody. They promoted a guy that I caught. I caught this guy hammering a screw. And I'm like, that's a screw. You need a Phillips for that one. They promoted him.
Oh my
But anyway,
gosh.
I want to go back to my point. I was working at Home Depot at the time as a cashier. Someone had been like, "Oh, my wife is leaving her job. I think she was retiring. I think you'd be like a great like fit for it. Like you should go interview and I'll put in a good work or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, cool, okay." And I'm going into it being like, "I'm not going to get this job. Like I have no office experience, you know. I'm a neurodivergent person, so uh I just didn't think I'd get it. I dressed nice and I was just kind of like, it's practice." So I go in and I'm interviewing with him and I'm honest. I'm like, yeah, I don't have office experience, but I'm a hard worker. Everybody at Home Depot really likes me and blah blah blah. And he asked me, he was like, well, like why should I hire you? And I remember being like, in my mind is like, he shouldn't hire you because you don't have any experience in this job. And I was like, well, I was like, I don't have a whole lot of experience, but I'm like a really cool person, so you should hire me just because of that.
Oh my.
And he did the job.
Oh.
The job. And I was like, what? I mean, obviously I want the job. And I was like, but like, why? What made you like choose me when you were interviewing people that had experience? And he's like, everybody was so boring. He was like, I'd ask them why I should hire them. And like, you were just like, because I'm hella cool. And I was like, he was like, I really liked that. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that
Oh
worked.
my gosh. That's insane. But I feel like that makes sense because it was like he saw in that moment he saw a little glimpse of like who you are as a
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
And that's I feel like that's what most jobs are trying to like get a sense of, but when you ask that same question, they're gonna try to give you the best answer. Versus you're like, you know what?
And it's so hard because so
I'm
many
amazing.
people tell you this is what you should say for this question. This is what you should say for that question. So like you have a script of how you should answer, but if everyone's answering the same questions in the same way, like I don't know. It's so hard to take advice or anything because if you say the same thing everyone else is saying, you don't stand out. But if you're honest, you take the risk of the interviewer being biased for some reason about what you said. Um,
Mm-hmm.
So it's so hard, and I don't know how to say it. They're so critical of people. Like every little thing you say, and it's like there's no good answer anymore because if you say the same shit that everyone else is saying, it's like, oh, she's boring. But if you're honest, like you were, it's like she was too honest. I didn't like that. Or, God forbid you go in and they don't like the way you're dressed, or I don't know, they don't like your makeup or something stupid. Didn't you have the same
Oh,
did you have the
I
same
did
thing
have
where
it.
they were like, why should we hire you? Or something? They asked you
Yeah.
something hella
So
goofy.
they did. So I had this storage place, and it would have been super chill, hours perfect. And one of the questions that they asked was where I see myself in like 5 years. And I was on it. I'm sorry. Apparently, this is what happens. I guess when I'm feeling down. I guess I'm very honest. It's probably not a good trait of mine because I told him I was like, well, I'm I got engaged, and so I hope after I get married and everything, I hope that I could get my park job. I had once had a park job. I wish I could work back in the parks or some kind of city work in 5 years. But until then, at least for like 2 or 3, I would love to work here.
Hmm.
And she was just like, okay. So like she's like, yeah, that's understandable. She's like, I've been here for like 10, 12 years as one of those, and I'm like, oh,
That's crazy.
my bad.
I mean, there's
I
no
was like,
no
well,
shame in wherever
no,
somebody
no
works. No
shame,
shame.
because my aunt has worked at a storage place forever, but it's like I feel like she was really saying, I hope you stay here for 5 years, but I'm like this girl over here, I got dreams. My dreams are not working at a storage unit. Like, I I don't know what else to tell you.
It's so hard because, like, there's no shame in a job. If you're getting paid to do something, there's no shame in whatever you're doing. But
Yeah.
it's like a storage unit, and they're like, what do they expect you to say? What's your 10-year plan? Oh, I want to be working at the storage unit. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
like I hope maybe I got a little better hours and I get, one extra day off.
yeah,
Sweet.
like, I don't know. Like, what, I know that they want you to say that. Like, I love
Yeah.
U-Haul. I know everything about U-Haul, and U-Haul is my passion. I
That's
love trucks and storing things. I like watching Storage Wars, so I'm like obsessed with storage units.
no, that's honestly that's exactly what they want you to say. And the reason why I know this is because when I worked at the parks, I was a temp and I was trying to get the position for full time, no longer temp. And my coordinator literally printed out a sheet and was like, "Okay, I'm gonna pretend like I'm interviewing you. Give me your best answers." I'm like, "Okay." So with him, he's like, "So why do you want to work here?" And so I tell him, "I really want to work for the parks because I enjoy it a lot. I like nature. I like talking to people." And then he basically would take my and after the whole thing done, he's like, "Okay, so with this one, when they ask you what you want about the job, he's like, it's not so much that you love the like working in the forest. He wants to know that you're really good at organizing. You're really good at micro managing time. Like, and it was just crazy that here I am giving all this answers, and I feel like I was getting the behind the scenes of like why I've been denied for so many jobs. He was like, it's kind of like I said in the last two um, job in storage. It's like they're like you can't be as honest. Like, and it sucks because it's exactly what you were saying too. It's like they have a script that they want you to say.
And if it's not exact, if it's not exactly the script that they want to hear, they won't give you the time of day.
Yeah,
And God
and then
forbid you're honest. They do not want
exactly. Well,
honesty.
if you applied for the job and you're missing one requirement, they'll just scratch your application and throw it out and say thanks for applying with us. And I was like, really?
Yeah, and
He's like,
that's so ridiculous.
yeah. He's like, if you don't have the resume that matches exactly what the job description said, your application's being denied. But at the same time, it sucks. I'm like, why? Because that's why he gave me a chance. He's like, because he was like, I saw that you had the experience. You're a good hard worker. He was like, but if I would have just based it off your application, he's like, odds are, you wouldn't have been picked. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, really?
And it's crazy because I feel like back maybe when our parents or our grandparents even back when they were looking for a job, they just walked into a place and were like, "Are you hiring?" And they'd be like, "Yes or no." And then they'd be like, "Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
get an apron on and get in the back." Like, or like walk into a hospital and be
Exactly.
like, "Do you guys need doctors?" They're like, "Yeah, sure, get on back there." Like, and like being interviewed for corporate jobs because that's what I'm going for because that's where I have a corporate or like construction jobs is where I have experience in. Like, they're the same way. If it's not 100% a match for whatever reason, or if you don't say one word correctly, there's so much competition that they can look for that one person that you know they're interviewing so many people. I got I got invited to an interview for some park job, and I paid minimum wage, and it wasn't even full time; it's part time. And I'm like, okay, I have a corporate background, but I need a job, so I'll just apply for this one or whatever. And I get a reply back being like, "Oh yeah, your resume looks great," of course, because I have a huge. They're probably looking for like teenagers. Um, Please select a day to interview. The list they sent me. This is okay. Keep in mind this. They're hiring for like two people. It's a part-time minimum wage job. They sent me this block of time frames, and it's like
Oh my
interviewing
gosh.
every day for like 3 weeks, every 30 minutes.
That's insane. Like I'm like speechless. So like
Why are you
that's
interviewing that many
insane.
people? That is so crazy. And I'm like, like flabbergasted. And then at that same interview, they asked me a really goofy question, which I'm like, I don't know, maybe smarter people will see this video and be like, well, they asked you that because of this and this and this. But at the time, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, this is the stupidest fucking question I've ever been asked. They're interviewing me and asking me, the typical questions, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the interviewers, she goes, if you could be any fictional character, who would you be? And I'm like, any
What?
fictional character? I was like, from like a movie or like a book? And she's like, anywhere, any fictional character. And my fucking neurodivergent brain, I swear to God, I would give anything to have a normal brain. I I feel like my brain works against me like constantly. I feel like my own brain hates
Oh
me.
gosh, what did you say? Did you say like Yoda?
Wait, I couldn't think of shit. My brain immediate was like, bitch, you want to be a werewolf. You want to be a 9 foot tall werewolf. You want to be scary and you want to eat people. And that's all my brain would come up with. It was like werewolf, 9 foot tall, scary as fuck. And I'm like, no, I need something. I could pick anything, any media. And I'm like sitting there like, oh my God, brain, pick anything other than that. I can't sound like a crazy person. And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, gosh, I don't know. I was like, I don't watch a whole lot of movies. I read a lot. And the only book I could think of was The Dark Tower by Stephen King, because that's my favorite one. Even though I've read hundreds of books, I've seen so many movies. And I'm like, I don't know. I guess someone from The Dark Tower, because that's my favorite book, and the world is really weird.
Oh,
I was like,
oh
and then
no.
when I got home, I was like, okay, I could have picked anybody from like Gravity Falls. That's like a kid's show. That would have been perfect. Gravity Falls is very
Yeah.
like kid horror, or like a perfect example was I could have picked Scully from the X-Files because she's a doctor.
Yeah.
She works in the FBI and she gets to hunt fucking aliens. Like
Yeah.
I could have picked anything, and my brain the whole time was like, "You want to be a 9 foot tall werewolf?" Like I can't tell an interviewer that. That sounds insane.
That's horrible.
I didn't get that job.
Like, honestly, like, I'm like trying to think. I'm like, fuck, if someone asked me that, I'm like trying to think right
Yeah,
now.
think of it, because if you don't have an answer, who knows what you'll say? If I asked you that right now, what does your brain think?
I was actually hardcore thinking about it, and the only thing I thought about was Xena because I have
Xena?
my Xena Funko Pop in front of me, so I don't think I'm any better.
It would be the Xena warrior princess.
I'm like Xena Warrior Princess.
That's better than a 9 foot tall werewolf. I should have just said that. Fuck it. Why not?
Oh no.
Like I'm at the point like you said where I've done so many like interviews or gotten so many rejections at this point that I almost want to sound insane in my interview just to stand out. Just so they'll be like, I remember her because she's insane. Like maybe that will get me in, since doing all the corporate jargon. I'm a hard worker and I'm compassionate and I love B2B sales and marketing. Like, and I love Excel. I'm so great at it. Like, no, dude, I'm going to say something fucking crazy. That way they're like, that bitch said this in her interview and I remember her.
If I'd interview people, I'm like, I think I would pick an interesting crew.
Like, you have to like redo your resume constantly to like fit the exact job. And then like
Mm-hmm.
all the advice now for job seekers is like research the company, know everything about the company, spend 4 hours learning about the company and then submit your resume. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Like, I'm gonna go through all of that just to get an automated response that says I'm not good enough for the job. Like, I'll do that before the interview, but I'm not gonna
Yeah.
research the company for hours before I submit my resume. Like, some of the advice I see on LinkedIn is insane.
Also, it's like some of the testing, like for instance,
Oh
that
God. Oh
the
God.
testing that right I had. So for the storage job, it actually sent me a test that was like a half an hour long,
You had to test for the
and
storage unit job?
yeah, that's the one I was
What
testing
the
for the storage unit going. Yeah, and my problem is I'm a lot like you. I'm neurodivergent, and I'm like very much on the borderline of the ADHD. So staying on focus for that long, it takes a lot, and I easily get tired or sidetracked. But that's like
dude.
another. That's so now you have the bias of the interviewer person.
And
You
the
have these
bias of the
stupid
robots scanning your resume.
yeah, bias of the robots because you have to make sure you can pass their stupid little tests that they put out there. On top of that, they have ones that, like you were telling me, when they try to say, instead of being underqualified, You were telling me stories about them you being
Oh God.
overqualified.
There is no middle ground. There's no way I can get
No.
hired. I'm either overqualified or underqualified. There's nobody who will take me.
Then you, even if you're, when you're looking for jobs, you have this, I feel like you have the stigma of looking for a particular job depending on your age as well. So, for instance, like it's totally okay if you're in your early 20s and you're working retail and you're serving ice cream. Someone's like, okay, that's fine, you know what, you're good. But it's like as soon as you hit over 25, 26,
For 30s or
you,
40s.
yeah, 30s or 40s,
Hmm.
and it's like, oh wait, you work at the retail, even if you're a supervisor, you're making good money. They're like, oh, that's not a real job, and people will talk down to you. So
Yeah, and then there's that stigma too, because like nowadays, once you get pigeonholed into a job, there's no jumping careers. Like,
that's a big part of it too, is because I my first job I might have done retail, and then I went into the parks, and then I got stuck back in retail, and I kind of tried food. Food didn't really work,
oh God, I
but
hated working in food. Food is the
I cannot.
worst job to have. I will
I can't
never,
do it.
no, I will never apply to be a waitress or to work with food. Not that I think it's below me, but the people who do
I
that,
can't.
I commend you. I don't know how you
Oh,
deal. I don't know how
me
you
either.
deal.
People are so freaking mean.
Are you on LinkedIn?
Oh, I was. I don't think I'm on LinkedIn
Oh my
anymore.
God, LinkedIn is such a cesspool. So on LinkedIn, when you're looking for a job, you can put a banner on your picture that says open to work. And that's like
Yeah.
lets people know that you're like looking for a job. And so
Mm-hmm.
many people on there are like, oh my God, people who put open to work are so cringe. You're so desperate. Like, don't act so
Really?
desperate for a job. That's so ew. That's so gross. If I see someone with a banner that says open to work, I automatically think desperate loser. And it's like, dude, like,
Oh.
people need to pay their damn bills. And we are in a recession and there are no jobs and people are getting laid off. Like, imagine having that attitude from up on your fucking pedestal and being like, I have a job and you little peasants who don't are just losers. And like, it's so
Exactly.
disgusting. It's so disgusting. Like, we're so mean to each other. Why are we so mean?
I don't know. All I know is I was personally, I felt kind of offended because, like, so when I got my college degree, I came into work and I worked at the cupcake shop. I came into work and my cousin was working and one of my other coworkers was working. So like he did a whole confetti gun and was like, you know, congratulations, you graduated. Like he made a big thing and this person at the counter looked at my coworker and was like, "Oh, what's going on?" She's like, "Oh, you know, she just graduated." And then I kind of walk up there. I'm like, "Oh, yeah." I'm telling her thank you, and he looks at me. He's like, "Congratulations, you can get a real job now." And I
Um,
looked at
I'd be
him
like, I'm getting
like,
paid. This is a real job.
yeah, I like gave him this look like, "Oh, this is a real job." He's like, "You know, like a real one."